Hey everyone. So being in the comfort zone doesn't necessarily mean that you're comfortable. You know, you can be in your comfort zone and be miserable and unhappy. It doesn't mean that you are happy in your comfort zone. The comfort zone is what you are familiar with. And if you're being familiar with being miserable, that will be your comfort zone. If you're familiar with being unhappy or unlucky or unlucky in love, that's your comfort zone. And I know it doesn't make much sense to the conscious brain, but your subconscious will continue to chase after what it knows because it gives it security, it gives your mind security, because it thinks it can predict what's going to happen. Oh, I know this. And you need to understand the subconscious mind doesn't really mind what's going to happen in your emotional life. The subconscious mind just knows, if I take this route, I'm going to get there. And translated into your human life, that might mean that you're going to get hurt again. But you need to be able to understand that there is like a dissociation happening between the subconscious mind and the emotional body. The subconscious mind is like a computer that's just thinking, okay, if I take this route, I'm going to get there. And it doesn't mind as much. It's not that it's mean, but it's more like you need to see it as two separate things. So it takes this route. It knows, okay, this person is going to hurt her because da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, cool, I know that. That's familiar. I'm familiar with that. So that feels safe. When on the human side, you're like not understanding why you're going down that path again. And then you're getting hurt and your emotions are in pain, right? You're in pain emotionally. But that's what you are familiar with. And the subconscious will always try to protect you by doing what it already knows, regardless if that's going to hurt you or not, because it doesn't really understand that it's hurting you. It just thinks it's almost like a navigational system where you put a destination and it's just a computer, you know, like it's going to give you the quickest way, but maybe you can't even pass there by car. You know, maybe you will find a way and it says you can't pass here. I mean, I could tell you a story where I followed the navigational system and I ended up in a terrible situation because I thought, I'm just going to go where the navigation system is sending me. And then we ended up having to turn around in what was a dried river thing. It wasn't even a street. I don't even know. Like, don't ask me how I ended up there. But I'm like, I just blindly followed what the navigational system was telling me. And that's what the subconscious does. The subconscious just takes the easier way, regardless of how you feel on a human level. Because if you don't make this connection, how will the subconscious know that it wasn't good for you? The subconscious thinks it does a great job by navigating you through this. And it's like, yeah, look, I took the familiar route. And you're like, the familiar route is the one that always ends up in heartbreak. But anyway, if you don't communicate with these parts, no improvement can happen, right? So how do you get out of this comfort zone then? And in contrary to common belief and advice to just blaze through it and ignore your fears and your feelings and just do it, just suck it up, just do it, right? Just get over yourself. No, come on, like, no. What good is that going to do other than backfire in your face at one point, you know? So what do you do then? Well, how can you get safely out of this comfort zone, which again is nothing that's necessarily comfortable. It's more what is familiar. It's what you have known your entire life. That's it. It's how you grew up. That's what's going to be familiar to you. And regardless if that was good or happy or unhappy or helpful or not helpful, or maybe it was good then and now you want to go into a different direction in your life and the comfort zone keeps you stuck to it because that's all you know. Anyway, again, how can you move out of there safely without like creating more damage, without hurting yourself more? So you start to heal these parts. You start to understand these parts that have never ever experienced a different reality. And it's often the inner child. If you grew up in a family that wasn't harmonious, in a family where there were a lot of arguments and fighting and negative energies and blaming and you know, a lack of love, that's your default state of how you think the world functions. And that's sad. So you have a sad part in you that's trying to recreate this because it's all it ever knew. Although it's not a happy state of being, it will recreate this because it's at least familiar, right? And the subconscious will always choose what's familiar to it over something new, over something that could be even more fearful. So it's your job as a grown-up human being to get in touch with these parts and ask them what they need. What happened? Why am I attracting this kind of relationships? Like, why do I always end up in a relationship that is disharmonious, right? You can ask yourself, ask this part of you that feels the need to recreate this because it's familiar to it, why it does that. And it will tell you why. And it will also tell you that it doesn't like it and that it's painful. And it's your job to make peace with this part, to heal it. And once you have healed this part, you will see that it will be so much easier to create something new because you have befriended this part, you have made peace with it. There is no need for this part to continuously recreate something to feel safe, because by the fact that you took care of it, it felt safe. So this part doesn't really mind where the safety comes from, right? It just wants to feel safe. It's basically your inner child that just wants to feel safe. And it's your job to do that. Because then, once it feels safe, you are free to go to do something else. Because there is not going to be more resistance to it. There is not going to be fear towards it. Because the part already feels safe. And when this part feels safe, it's actually on board. It's going to tell you, yes, let's try something new. We don't have to do this old shit all over again. Because I feel safe now. I don't need the predictability of what I know to seemingly feel safe, right? Because I already feel safe. So yeah, I'm open to do new things. Why not? Why not? So the key isn't in just ignoring what you're feeling, ignoring your fears, getting over the fears, all that bullshit that society tells you to do. I mean, look around. Look around. Why do we have so much disease, depression, depression and suicides? Not because what society has been preaching has been so healing to people, you know. It's really our job now to start taking healing into our own hands. And look at the things instead of pushing them down, instead of falling into the trap of just blazing forward at every price is the answer to everything. It's not. It's the recipe for more disaster. Because the more you ignore these parts, the more they're gonna come back with a vengeance. That's why you get sick. That's why you have accidents. It's because all these parts want to get your attention. Because believe me or not, these parts don't want to live this way either. You are programmed to find back into wholeness. All of yourselves, they want to go back into the light, into the love, into the safety. So therefore, although they keep choosing, your subconscious might keep choosing an unhealthy old pattern, but deep below that, it really wants to go back into the safety of where it all came from. All right, now we're touching on spiritual topics. So that's the ascension. We all want to go back to the light. So the answer is not to keep pushing shit more into the darkness. It's about getting stuff up and looking at it in the light so it can go back into the light, okay? So guys, I hope this helped. Remember, the comfort zone is just what you're familiar with, is what you grew up with. It's probably a lot of inner child parts that need attention. They need your loving care. They need your healing so that they can be free, so that they can be safe, and you can start choosing new ways for yourself, creating new healthy patterns. Yeah, I wish you all the best with that, and until next time.